The harsh truth is that life is better when you're nourishing your body correctly. And if I've learned anything in my 20s, it's that I can't rely solely on motivation throughout the week to make healthy choices. Meal prepping dry chicken and plain rice for the week is definitely not the vibe. So, in this episode, we want to give you 6 tips that we've been implementing to eat healthy, enjoy all of your meals, all without blowing your budget.
I love this topic. I know I used to do grocery haul videos on my Instagram, and it's funny because they never really perform well. They always kind of flopped, but people
Same.
will DM me and they're like, I missed those videos. I loved seeing what you were eating for the week. And I'm like, really? But then I think about it and I also love those kind of videos. I like seeing what people are eating, what they're up to, and also just the framework behind how they're making it work to eat healthy while being on a budget. Because I think when you plan your meals ahead or, you actually have some sort of framework for how you do it, it helps just eliminate some of the decision fatigue. Because gosh, at the end of the day from working, the last thing I want to do is be like, "Oh, what's for dinner?" I just want to know what it is. But I also don't want to break the bank on it.
And I feel like with this conversation around eating healthy while sticking to a quote unquote budget, just remembering that one, eating whole meals, like full 3 meals a day, is going to be healthier than just like randomly picking at things and like eating tortilla chips for lunch. It's always going to be healthier, right? Like eat your full meals. I feel
Mm.
so terrible when I just like pick at things all day. And I do that when I don't plan things in advance. And then on the flip side of that, eating at home is always going to be cheaper than eating out. And we eat at home when we plan things in advance and we don't get to the end of the day being like, oh, I have no idea what to eat for dinner tonight. So let me order Uber Eats or let me go get takeout because I don't know what I want to eat tonight. So this whole episode is just around giving you, yeah, 6 tips for just planning things a little bit more in advance, being a little bit more intentional with what you're eating, and some of the things that we're focused on right now for how to eat healthier, all without spending a gajillion dollars on eating healthy food.
Yes, it does like add up. When I found out that I had endometriosis back in October, after that, I'd always eaten kind of healthy, but I got so much more serious about really making sure that I'm nourishing my body. And surprise, surprise, I would have these days where I'd be like, gosh, I'm so tired at 2 p.m. I'm like, gosh, dang, what's going on? Or I'd be like exhausted all the time or not sleeping well. And when I started to actually prioritize making sure my meals were well rounded and that I wasn't just eating tortilla chips for lunch, I did actually feel better, unfortunately, because it takes more effort. But I actually did see like a really tangible difference. And even last year, I worked with a dietitian for a little while and just prioritizing fiber and protein and even just like drinking more water. Sounds so basic, but I actually really, really see a difference when I nourish my body, even with breakfast. When I have a breakfast that's like, more protein and fiber and whatever, I actually see like a meaningful difference in how I feel in my body. So I think that, with this podcast, we want to help people build lives they actually love. And part of that is actually feeling good while you are enjoying your life and nourishing your body. But I also know that everyone listening is most people are very, budget conscious. We want to be smart about how we're spending our money. And so, yeah, I hope this episode's really, really helpful in doing that.
Yeah, it's crazy how much better you do feel when you're eating full meals and also eating enough of the things that you need. I feel like that's a huge shift that I made right after college, which in college, I didn't have a lot of nutrition education. I also didn't have the best like body image and all of that
Hmm.
good stuff. And I feel like in college, I was very focused on, you know, calorie restriction and being super thin and all of those
Hmm.
good things. And then I graduated and my frontal lobe must have developed. And I was like, wait, I actually need to focus on getting enough of the good things and making sure I'm getting enough nutrients and making sure my meals are well rounded. And turns out I started to feel exponentially better. And that
Yeah.
actually, I think that goes really well into tip number one, which is a really good starting point because if you're first getting started into wanting to make health and nutrition a bigger part into your life, it can be very overwhelming because there's so many different things that you maybe see online or different focus areas that you can have. And I have found it to be a lot easier to digest when I align on a health priority for a specific period of time. And what I mean by this is instead of just going to the grocery store and saying, I'm going to eat healthier this week. So I'm going to add a bunch of stuff into my cart to eat healthier. I'm getting more specific on that and saying, okay, in this phase of life for where I am right now, eating enough protein is my biggest focus. And I'm going to make sure all of my meals give me enough protein for what I need for my body and the fact that I lift weights and exercise. So I'm going to eat enough protein. And for the next 3 or 4 months until I've built the habit of eating enough protein, that's going to be my number one focus. And yes, you still inherently get some other goals in there. Like if you're building meals around protein, you probably are also putting a veggie on the side, maybe, or you're eating your good whole grain carbohydrates with it, but protein is your number one focus until you've built that habit. And then after that, you no longer really need to focus on getting enough protein in because you've already built that habit. So now you can say, okay, right now, my number one focus and my number one priority with my nutrition is getting enough fiber. So now my already protein focused meals, I'm going to make sure I have enough of fruits and vegetables and nuts and seeds in my meals as well. So I think that that's really helpful if you're just kind of looking for a starting point instead of walking into the grocery store saying, I want to eat healthy. Pick your focus area, pick your priority, and build your meals around that.
Mhm. Well, first of all, too, this idea of healthy, like what is healthy for each person's going to be different. And I want to preface too by saying that I don't look at food as like good and bad. Food has no morals. It's not like, oh my gosh, that food is so bad. I don't view food that way. I view food as like fuel for our bodies and fun. It's fuel and fun. And so like there are some things that like, okay, yeah, maybe this is not gonna like fuel me for my day, but I'm at brunch with my friends and I want to get a sugary French toast. Like, yeah, I might have a little afternoon crash because it doesn't have the most protein in it. And that's completely okay. And it doesn't have to be that food is like good or bad. And that's been like a big mindset shift too as I'm thinking about food. But I'm currently prioritizing protein because I am intentionally doing a calorie deficit. And it has been shocking how little protein is in the things I was eating. But I want to feel full and I want to make sure that as I'm exercising, that I'm actually like supporting my muscles and my body as I'm trying to build muscle, getting back into working out after recovering from endo surgery. And I don't know, it's just crazy. But the thing is as I'm starting to like pay attention to protein, I'm not really thinking as hard about fiber because last year I prioritized fiber when working with a dietitian and I started thinking about my fiber sources. So now I don't really need to think about it as much anymore because I made that a habit. And I'm sure over time, I mean, even already I've been kind of like tracking everything I eat, which again was eye opening. I was eating like 40 grams of protein a day. And for someone of my weight and activity level, that is so low and also just not, it wasn't helping me like in my body feel full and I felt like I was always hungry. And it was like, well, no, duh, Grace. You're literally having like 5 to 10 grams of protein each meal. Like we need to beef that up. But it's just been shocking to see, like, okay, yeah, I need to do a better job at nourishing my body. And now that I'm doing it for been like 3 weeks to a month, I think, I am seeing like I already know in the back of my head, okay, there's going to be roughly this much protein here, roughly this much protein there. Am I nourishing my body enough at this meal? Like I made a salmon quinoa salad for lunch and then I put it into this little tracking app that I have to track my meals. And I was like, oh my goodness, there's only 14 grams of protein in this lunch. Okay. I'm like, I need to add more. Oh, I know those like dried edamame that I like to eat are another 14 grams. I'm going to do a serving of that so I can make sure that I get another 14 grams of protein and that my body feels good and supported for the rest of my day. But if you can pick a focus, I think that's a better way to do it because I feel like some of the content we see online around this topic is just so, what's the word? Intense, unhealthy, crazy, spooky, scary. And it's like you can look at it and think, oh my gosh, I need to change my entire life around. And I don't think that's a good headspace to go into. I actually have a friend who was a nutritionist, I think, years ago. She was in school for it. She asked if she could use me as like I don't know what you would call it, in like a project she was doing. They had to work one on one with somebody and like talk to them about food. And she had said to me, she's like, focus on adding what you need. And that then became my focus in my meals. And then I feel like I made that habit of, looking at a meal and saying, okay, what could I add to this to give me more protein, more fiber, to give my body more energy, to help me feel more awake, alert, to sleep better, whatever it might be. And that was a really good way for me to kind of think things through and build that habit.
I know you touched on tracking your food, and this is something that I did very I don't wanna say very religiously because obviously, like, I would be traveling or if I was sick or whatever it may be, but probably over 80% of the time for a good, like, year and a half of my life, I tracked my food. I literally used a food scale, and I've talked about this on the podcast before. That was so beneficial for me in the phase of life that I was in for the purpose of helping me understand what food is from, like, a macronutrient perspective. Before that, I had no idea that a chicken breast was 30 grams of protein, or that potatoes were X amount of carbohydrates, or that an avocado was X amount of healthy fats. I didn't have that context. I really didn't have any understanding of macronutrients. And using a food scale helped me put things into perspective. And for me, I know it feels, if you've never considered one before, and I don't think it's for everybody. If it doesn't align with you, don't do it. For me, it got me out of restriction mode and into that mode of adding what I needed and making sure that I was
Mhm.
getting enough of what I needed. Because before that, I was almost like afraid of quote unquote like denser calorie foods. Like
Mhm.
avocado is obviously going to be higher calorie than like a blueberry, right?
Mhm.
Or a banana is going to be higher calorie than a blueberry. And before I had this education and before I took the time to understand what I was eating, I was almost afraid of those higher calorie foods.
Mhm.
And I felt terrible. I felt hungry all the time, literally
Yeah.
never felt satiated. I would snack 24/7 because I never felt satiated. And using the food scale for probably a good year and a half got me to a point where I was eating 3 full meals a day. I was adding what I needed. I was making sure I was getting enough healthy fats in my diet, enough protein in my diet. And now I haven't used a food scale in the last 4 years. It's not something that I feel
Mhm.
like I need to go back to, but it gave me so much education. And this is
Mhm.
actually another one of the tips that we have on our list. I'm kind of jumping around here. Is the tip of adding what you need to what you actually want. Because I feel like when we talk about eating healthy and sticking to a meal plan and meal planning, it feels very dry and boring. And we don't want it to feel like that, right? I love to eat. I love eating foods that are
Mhm.
yummy and they taste really good and putting meals together with intention. And when you're focused so much on, okay, well, I want to meal prep chicken and rice to eat, that's not fun. You want to
Mhm.
eat what you want to eat. So adding what you need to what you want. A good example of this is I like love pancakes. I'm usually a savory breakfast person, but sometimes I wake up craving something sweet and I love pancakes, right? Okay, well, if I'm craving pancakes, instead of me saying, can't eat that, that's not good for you, so I'm going to eat eggs and maybe like a whole grain toast instead. No, I'm going to give myself the pancakes, but I'm going to add what I need to what I want. So I have the Kodiak cakes. They're like the
Mhm.
higher protein pancake. I always keep them in my pantry if I'm craving them, and I probably eat them like twice a month. But I always add, if I have a ripe banana, I will mash up a banana and put that in there. Maybe I'll add an additional scoop of protein powder because there's really only like less than 10 grams of protein in it. It's not like that high protein. And then I'll add chia seeds and ground flax seeds to it. And then what I top my pancakes with is I'll mix Greek yogurt and maple syrup. So instead of strictly just like dousing them in maple syrup, I'll add Greek yogurt to it to get additional protein on top of my pancakes. And then maybe I'll
Mhm.
add blueberries to the pancakes or chocolate chips if I'm feeling it.
Mhm.
But that is adding what I need to what I want to have a more well balanced meal that's not going to make me feel hungry in 1 hour.
Yes, and it's like with, like, the pancake example, it's not that regular pancakes are, like, bad or whatever, or that you should, because I think the idea of good and bad can be so toxic. The way that I look at it is conducive to how I wanna feel or not conducive to how I wanna feel. Because I used to, like, and I think I've mentioned this on the podcast too, but it was a while back. I used to struggle with some level of disordered eating habits where I was so obsessed with every single thing I was putting in my body, and I was definitely not eating enough, and it was very unhealthy and not honoring my body in any way. And so I had to really shift my mind because I would feel almost guilty if I ate something that was not necessarily like nourishing my body, right? Like if it wasn't, yeah, something that was just going to make me like feel the best. And that took literally so long. I think probably only about like 2 years ago did I start to view food differently. But I think about it as conducive to how I wanna feel or not conducive to how I wanna feel. So, there are some mornings where I'm like, "Yeah, I am gonna make my pancakes, and I'm gonna make them in a way that probably doesn't have a lot of protein, doesn't have a lot of fiber, and maybe has a decent amount of sugar. And that's not necessarily conducive to how I want to feel in a few hours because I'm not going to feel full. I'm going to be hungry in a couple hours. I'm probably going to have a sugar crash. And not eating enough fiber is not good for your health in many ways, right? But then there are times where I'm like, yeah, I really want pancakes. And in order for me to make them conducive to how I want to feel, again, I want to feel energized. I want to feel satiated so that I'm not hungry in 2 hours when I'm in the middle of my workday before I can break for lunch. And I want to be eating enough fiber that I know that I'm supporting my gut health and all of that. Then I'm okay. I think, what can I add to make them conducive to how I want to feel? And there is a content creator. I always forget her name. And I, please, if you know her, like put it in the caption. I mentioned this like a long time ago on the podcast, but I always forget her name and I feel so bad. But she started this little trend and she kind of coined the expression, have what you want, add what you need. And she was on a weight loss journey. And so she would talk about like, I want nachos or something, but I need more protein because I need to stay full, or I need more fiber because I need to stay full, or whatever it may be between my meals. Like I don't want to eat a meal in 2 hours because my nachos do not make, fill me up enough. And so she would say, what can I add to that to have what I need? And this also, I love this with when I worked with a dietitian and we were adding in fiber a lot, I would think, okay, I want, a yogurt bowl this morning. What can I add to that? So, ooh, I can add chia seeds. I can add hemp seeds. I can add, I like to add nuts to things, chopped up nuts. When I make tuna salad, we talked about this before. Erin like hates the idea of tuna salad. It like really grosses her out. I am an add. I do tuna. I do pickles. I put raisins. I
Oh,
put
that
nuts.
sounds
I
so
put
gross.
other vegetables. I put celery, all this
Everything
stuff in
about
it.
it.
And Erin hates it. But I look at the meal and I think, what can I add to make it something that is more conducive to how I want to feel in a few hours or how I want to feel throughout my day? And that mindset shift truly has changed how I look at food and how I look at my body. Like, I think, again, like I want to feel energized. So the way that I nourish my body helps me feel energized. And when I feel more energized, I show up differently. I'm interacting differently with people because I'm not fatigued all the time. I can actually like go on a workout, like go for a workout class and have energy and more strength. And I genuinely see the difference when I do those things.
Absolutely. And unfortunately, I do think that it takes, again, that mindset shift of not being afraid of calories. And this is like a sensitive topic. And I
Hmm.
don't personally feel like qualified to speak on the topic, even though like I did a complete 180 since college. I also struggled severely with disordered eating all throughout college and did a complete 180. I personally don't feel qualified to
Yeah.
speak on the topic as much as I probably would if Grace and I were just having a conversation, unfortunately. But however, when I did start learning more about macros, I actually worked with a macro coach, and her username on Instagram is macro underscore habits, I believe. I'm pretty sure I might be like, but I think if you search macro habits, you'll be able to find her. Her page is like pretty big, and she talks about this concept a lot of like almost like reverse dieting, just the whole concept of not being afraid of calories. I think we have to get past that and focus more on actually nourishing our body and actually getting enough of what we need. It's very,
Hmm.
very, very important. It has completely changed my life, seriously. Okay, let's switch gears here a little bit. We have a couple of other tips on just ways to, again, eat healthy, not break the budget, eat whole meals, and actually plan them a little bit better in advance. This one I've been doing a lot. Anytime I do a big grocery haul at the beginning of the week, it's because I've actually planned out my meals, and my week is exponentially better than when I just don't really plan anything. I'll go to the grocery store 5 times throughout the week because I have to get something for every single day because I made 0 plan, and now I'm just, like, going and buying things ad hoc. My weeks are significantly better when I do this. I use the 3-2-1 planning method, and it's basically just when you're making your grocery list, you're planning out 3 dinners, 2 lunches, and 1 breakfast. And obviously, the 1 breakfast, you're going to eat that every day of the week. The 2 lunches, you're gonna make 2 or 3 servings of each one, and then the dinners, it's kind of like, okay, you cook one night, you have leftovers the next night, you cook the second night, you have leftovers the next night, and then you cook the third night. It's just so that you're not cooking every single night. But this has helped me a lot when I'm thinking about my grocery plan. What am I actually planning for? And you can adjust this if you don't like to eat the exact same breakfast every day, but you don't mind eating the exact same lunch every day. You can switch those two around. But this is what I've found to work best for me. And it also helps me very clearly outline the diversity that I'm getting in my diet. So, for example, if I'm looking at my 3 dinners and I see that it's a chicken meal every single night, okay, maybe I'll swap that around and one night I'll have salmon, one night I'll have chicken, and one night I'll have beef. So you can clearly see, am I getting that diversity in my diet and what am I actually eating for the rest of the week?
I do like a similar thing. I think I usually do 2 dinners, 1 lunch, and 1 breakfast because I guess I'm kind of a creature of habit. I like to switch up my dinners like every week, but and my lunches, but like my breakfast, I'll eat the same breakfast every day for a while. And then I guess I will say I try to be better about switching up my breakfast ever since working with the dietitian because I'm like, I do need to switch up my fiber sources and all these things. But I definitely map my stuff out. I also do what I call shop the shelf, and I will look at my freezer, fridge, and pantry and kind of take an inventory of what is there and then think about how I can make meals around that. So if I have for example, this week, I realized, okay, I haven't really eaten salmon in a little while. I had had some like ahi tuna that I got from a restaurant, but I was like, I haven't really had fish much and I should. So I looked in my freezer, which is another thing too. I am just one gal. I'm cooking for one. And oh my goodness, I can't eat the family pack of chicken. I just can't do it in one go. So I'll buy things frozen if I can, or I'll buy things fresh and then I freeze them. And that helps with the budget. But I never really buy fresh salmon because the cost of it versus buying fresh versus frozen like doesn't make sense at my local Walmart. So I just go in the freezer section and I buy they're just literally salmon fillets that are frozen and they're like one in a package. And I love that because it's like what $15 for a bag of like 10 fillets, 12 fillets. It's crazy. But anyways, like I had 2 fillets left in the bag. So I said, okay, I'm going to make a salmon dish this week so I can use up the salmon that's there and also have some fish. And so I just found a salmon recipe online for salmon quinoa salad and I looked at what I already had and then I got what I didn't. And I think I spent, I mean, this week out in groceries, I had to buy a household item that was like $20, but I spent like $60 total at the grocery store. That's not bad at all. But I shop with what I have, or I kind of shop my shelves first and try to use up what I have so that I'm actually like working my way through things. And then yeah, and then I create my meals with that.
Yeah, I do that too, and I definitely spend less money when I make my grocery list sitting in my kitchen so I can
Hmm.
see what I actually have. I will say I do pay for convenience in a lot of aspects when it comes to groceries. And I think that when we're talking about budget grocery stores versus more expensive grocery stores, sometimes the more expensive grocery store can end up being better for certain things that you need than others. For example, when I go into Aldi, you can only really buy like huge bags of potatoes or sweet potatoes or onions, whereas my recipe needs one onion or I
Yeah.
need one sweet potato, right? So sometimes I do like going to the more expensive grocery store because you can customize your quantity a little bit better, but that's a little bit of a tangent. But what I was going to say about salmon, because I talked on the podcast about doing those like function health lab work. I did the lab work. And one thing that came back was my omega 3s are very low. And our friend Gabrielle, who we talk about all the time on here, she's our dietitian friend. She talks about omega 3s all the time on her channel and about how to get more of them. And salmon is like one of the fatty fish that has more of the omega 3s. So I'm trying to eat it once a week, but I'm very picky about salmon. And the only way that I will eat it is if I go to the expensive grocery store and go to the deli section where they have like
Hmm.
the cuts of actual meat and fish, and they have the pre-marinated salmon there. What I like about it, as opposed to the frozen salmon, is the frozen salmon's very thin,
Mm-hmm.
and these are like thick fillets of salmon, and I will only buy it there, and then I stick it in the air fryer, and air fryer salmon is like the best thing ever. You can't mess it up. It's crispy on the outside, perfectly done on the inside. So that's the only way that I'll eat salmon, but it's things like that where I'm like, I will spend $10 for one fillet of salmon because I know it's the thing that I will actually eat when the time comes, as opposed to, I know for me, if I go buy the frozen ones and stick them in the freezer, they're going to die in the freezer. I'm never going to pull them
Yes.
out because I never want to eat them.
Yes. I think we all collectively have to stop with the optimistic meals. Stop with that.
Correct.
Because I just feel like you can be real, you can have a lot of, optimism about, oh my gosh, you know what? I see this salad recipe on social media. I'm going to make that salad. Are you gonna eat the salad? One thing I've learned about me, I will go and I'll get a salad somewhere if I'm really craving salad, or like I'll go through some seasons at home where I'm really like I just have a salad craving. It lasts approximately 3 days and then it's done. So I don't like I know I'm not gonna prep a salad because I'm not gonna eat that. Like I just know myself, I'm not gonna do it. I know also that I like to cook, but I don't want to cook every single day after work. So I will prep things in advance because I know myself and I know I'm not gonna do that. Like, it's like, why would you buy the frozen salmon if you know you're not gonna eat that? You only are gonna eat the one that you like and the way that you like it. You know what I mean? Cut back somewhere else. But like, I think if we also, you know how they joke about how like you'll get a vegetable and then it just goes into your vegetable bin to die and that just becomes like a vegetable graveyard. It's like we gotta stop. Stop buying the things out of optimism. Buy the things that you know you're gonna eat, add what you need to it, and like spend a little more on it. It's fine. It's fine.
On the topic of stopping with the optimistic meals, this brings us to our next tip, which is building your low to no prep recipe rotation. I absolutely swear by this. I feel like the salmon, the pre marinated salmon that I throw in the air fryer is a really good example of this. I am such a low prep recipe girl for dinner. And a lot of times they will center around almost like a rice bowl. You do quinoa as opposed to rice. If you don't have a rice cooker, you're missing out. It's the best $20 kitchen gadget literally ever. You can make rice, quinoa, whatever you need in there. I've also seen people like add edamame or beans to their rice in the rice cooker to kind of make it a little bit more balanced. But my low prep recipe rotation is any type of rice bowl, some type of meat or fish, and some type of vegetable. Salmon in the air fryer. I will buy shaved steak at the grocery store. Most grocery stores do have some type of shaved steak. I love like a shaved ribeye. I'll throw that in the pan with some like teriyaki sauce or something and make like a little rice and shaved steak situation. Ground beef or like ground meat in general is my other one.
Mhm.
Just like stop making it so hard on yourself to eat healthy. Like for me,
Yeah.
I will never cut a chicken breast. I don't wanna say never, but like 5% of the time will I cut chicken. I hate raw chicken, it grosses me out. So I really don't do it. If I'm going
Mhm.
to have chicken, I'll have like a chicken thigh that doesn't really need much prep. You could just throw it on the pan. It's okay if there's a little bit of fat in there. Like I don't wanna cut a chicken breast, so I'm not going
Mhm.
to. But I'll make ground turkey because I can just throw that in the pan with some taco seasoning. So just have these kind of low prep recipes on rotation. Don't overthink it. It doesn't have to be these elaborate meals to eat at home every night.
Don't get me wrong, I love doing a more elaborate meal. 'Cause a couple months ago, I enjoy cooking, right? But it has to be like I'm doing it on a weekend day or something, or a day off of work. And I remember I made this pasta. It was a gluten-free pasta. Oh my gosh, it was phenomenal. I made a butternut squash dairy-free cream sauce. So it was like using nutritional yeast and cashews and butternut squash, whatever.
I
Keep
love
in
doing that.
mind,
It's so good.
oh my gosh, it was so delicious. I want to make the sauce again because I was probably had a lot of protein in it too with the nutritional yeast and cashews. But anyways, I had to cook the butternut squash, wait for it to cool fully so I could put it in the blender without my blender like blowing up because mine's like one that fully seals. And like I had to soak the cashews. I had to like there was a lot that had to go into this operation. Was it phenomenal and did I love it and I ate every single bit of it? Yes, I did, absolutely. And that is really cool. However, for example, this week I said, like, I have a salmon quinoa salad. I cooked the quinoa, I cooked the salmon, and I just cut the veggies and I threw it into a bowl. To me, that's like very low prep because again, I enjoy cooking. My other dinner, or that's my lunch, my dinner for the week is spaghetti squash noodles, again, because I'm gluten free, but also spaghetti squash is so fire. People
Oh,
should
I
eat it
hate
more.
spaghetti
Oh my gosh,
squash.
it's so
I
good. It's
hate
like a,
it. It's
oh,
disgusting.
it's like a noodle, but like,
No,
I mean, it's
it's
not
so not
noodly,
a
but
noodle.
it's like a crunchy noodle.
Nothing
It's
about
like
it is
a,
like a
oh
noodle.
my gosh, stop. It's like crunchy noodle. I love it. But I did that with ground turkey and pasta sauce. So it's almost like a spaghetti, like a turkey and spaghetti situation. but it's literally it's so simple, and I'm getting, like, multiple vegetables from the sauce and the spaghetti squash and the protein from the turkey. It's good, it's satiating, it's not too heavy at night. It's like, that is so simple, and I literally you cut the spaghetti squash in half, you scoop the seeds out, you pop it in the oven for an hour, boom. Like, it doesn't have to be anything terribly crazy insane.
Can we talk about vegetables for a second? Choose your vegetables to be low prep too. That's the other thing. I hate cutting a head of broccoli because
Oh, I never do
the
that.
little crumbs get everywhere and
Yeah.
it's disgusting. Like the broccoli crumbs, they get everywhere.
I know exactly what you're
Okay.
talking about, the little whatever those are, whatever they're not seeds, I don't know what they
No, I
are.
don't know, the
They're
little tips
everywhere.
of the broccoli. Yeah,
Yeah.
they get everywhere. Say, oh my gosh, cauliflower will
Oh,
literally be all over my house if I cut a head of cauliflower.
I love cauliflower. Love it. But, my problem with cauliflower and with broccoli, I can't eat a whole head of those in a week
So
unless
buy
I'm
it
eating broccoli
frozen.
for lunch exactly, I
Yes.
just get it
I just
frozen.
buy it frozen. So broccoli and cauliflower, I buy frozen. And then when I want to eat it, I stick it in the pan. Microwaving vegetables is gross to me. I stick it in the pan and I let it get like the slightest little char on it, and it's totally fine. You don't even notice the difference. However, there are lower prep vegetables that you can eat. For example, green beans. We were doing like a stir fry with, I made rice in the rice cooker. I got shaved steak. I put a couple little seasonings and sauce on it in a pan, and then I threw green beans in a pan. There's literally no prep other than
Mhm.
maybe trimming the ends. Same thing with carrots. I love like roasted carrots. You can buy the whole carrots at Trader Joe's or whatever grocery store and just throw them
Or
into a baking
baby
dish,
carrots. You
or
can
baby
literally chuck
carrots.
baby
Yeah.
carrots in the
You
thing,
can
yeah.
literally throw it into a pan. You don't have to do any prep to it. So it doesn't have to be this whole elaborate, like 10 pan meal to eat dinner at night.
No, not at all. I just feel like during the week, again, I don't wanna do 27-11 things. I
No,
just wanna, like, pop it in a pan and cook it up. I'm a big fan of frozen vegetables.
same.
I mean, when you're eating for one also, again, when I would get ahead, because I love cauliflower. Love cauliflower, one of my favorite vegetables. I haven't eaten it in a while. I should. But I when I was in Massachusetts, I would buy the fresh cauliflower and then I would take some of it and I would just like freeze it and use it for later, which was totally fine. But it's like because I would like slow roast it and make almost like buffalo cauliflowers, which I felt the fresh one was better for. But if I tried to eat all of that cauliflower in the span of a week, because I personally like to have multiple vegetables throughout the week and like kind of switch it up, I would have had to eat cauliflower with lunch and dinner every single day of the week. Maybe even for breakfast, because
Breakfast
no,
cauliflower.
literally like cauliflower on my avocado toast. I don't know. And maybe my grocery store just had like mega sized cauliflower heads. You know what I mean? When you're at the store, you have
Yeah,
less
no,
control.
it's a lot.
You're picking out of what they have, and sometimes they just don't have a small
Yeah.
option. So get the frozen, babe. Just get
Just
the
get the
and
frozen.
when we had our dietitian friend on the podcast, we both ended up working with her, like, actually as a dietitian, so we are friends with her. Erin's best friends with her, they've known each
Yeah,
other for a long time, and I'm now friends with her because, through Erin
she's your
and working with her
dietitian.
as a dietitian.
Yeah.
Yeah, but she's
Mhm.
amazing. But she had said about some people would be like, "Well, frozen vegetables aren't as, like, nutrient dense or whatever as fresh," but she was like, "Some people argue that they're actually more nutrient dense because they pick them at peak ripeness or peak whatever yeah,
Mm.
ripeness, I think, and then they flash freeze them, like, right away. So then they keep all of those nutrients in them until you basically, you go to cook them. So some people argue that they're even better for you. I think it's like a very marginal difference. It don't make no difference. But if you're someone who's like, well, I just feel like fresh is healthier than frozen, not necessarily. So just get
And
the
if you're
frozen.
comparing actually eating vegetables
Yeah.
to buying fresh vegetables and then they go bad and then you don't eat vegetables at all, like frozen vegetables are better than no
And then
vegetables.
you have a
So
rotten cauliflower
they
in your drawer.
then you
Yeah.
have to
Yeah.
like pick it out of your fridge and then it's gonna give you a cauliflower ick and it's just disgusting. Okay, this is kind of our maybe our last tip. We have like one other one in here, but I feel like maybe they go a little bit hand in hand. Okay. This tip, I swear by this. This is more so on the no, it's on both the health and the budget side. It's on the budget side because it gets rid of you getting to the weekend and you wanting to eat something fun. You don't want to eat the chicken that's in your fridge because it's dry by this point or it just feels boring because it's a Friday night. So now you order Uber Eats and you just spent $50 and it might not be that healthy. It gets rid of that. And it also, on the health side, eating in is still probably going to be better than getting takeout. You just have more control over what you eat. And this is to stock your lazy girl emergency meals. And I do think that it's important to actually save these for weekends or emergencies. I do know some people like, have you seen the Instagram reel of the guy like pulling the frozen pizza out of the freezer? And he's like, me eating my emergency frozen pizza after buying $100 worth of fresh produce. And it's like, okay, if you can't keep them in the house because you're just going to eat them all the time, like let's practice some restriction here. But I have a couple of lazy girl emergency meals in my freezer pantry for the weekends that I'm here and I want something a little bit more fun, something a little less healthy, but I still want to like kind of control what I eat. So I can go grab them instead of having to order Uber Eats or go get takeout. Two that I really love and that I eat all the time for, like, weekends and stuff. Alex also is gone a lot on the weekends, so I'm like, "Ooh, what's my girl dinner that I can eat?" Since, like, he's not here. The first one, the brand of mac and cheese is called Goodles. Do you know what I'm talking about? Have you
Yeah.
ever had
Yeah,
okay.
I can't eat them, but yeah,
I no, they have gluten-free ones. Oh, it
they
might
have
have
dairy.
dairy in it.
Yeah.
Can't have
Yeah.
cheese.
Yeah.
Well, the brand is called Goodles, and it's a mac and cheese brand, but it's like a healthier mac and cheese. It's a little bit higher protein, has fiber in it, and I will make Goodles mac and cheese, and I'll have it with some type of meat, whether I have ground beef already cooked in the freezer or in the fridge, or I always keep just bare chicken nuggets in my freezer. You can get them at Costco. I don't know if other grocery stores have them, but they're like a healthier, more like macro friendly chicken nugget. So I'll air fry the just bare chicken nuggets and I'll make the mac and cheese. And it's the best like Friday night in, read a book on my couch type of meal. And I always have it with me. So I never have to go get takeout because I always have a quote unquote emergency meal. The other one is I love the Trader Joe's flatbreads. That's like any frozen pizza will do, but I love the Trader Joe's flatbreads.
So if anyone's new here, I'm have celiac, so I'm gluten free, and I also have a dairy allergy. So I'm restricted on certain things I can eat. But I used to get the like Dia pizzas. If you're dairy free, you know what I'm talking about. But some of the like gluten free, dairy free pizzas are very like it's just like, what is this? But I also would do like my like emergency meal or whatever. You know what's funny? So I live in St. Pete, Florida, if anyone's new here. And obviously there's always like hurricane potential here. And so I had like a hurricane stash of food and water and whatnot, which you should have, right? And mine was tuna. And then I was like really craving tuna. And I was like, I'll just take one from the hurricane stash. It's okay. And then I ended up eating my entire hurricane stash of tuna because I was just like on a tuna salad kick. So now I have a special thing of tuna that I like tuck away that's like my hurricane stash. Not that I wouldn't be able to get to the store if a hurricane was coming, but I just felt like it was wise to have. But anyways, tuna is like one of mine. Like if I just have a can of tuna, because I can throw together again one of my tuna salads that have a million things that Erin hates the idea of. But those are really easy to throw in. I also would keep gluten-free chicken tenders in my freezer, and I would make almost like little snack wraps. I usually have like corn tortillas or some sort of bread or something, and I would do that like with some sort of greens, or sometimes if I'm getting really lazy, I will literally just do corn tortilla, gluten-free chicken tender, and just like some honey mustard, and that's it. It's literally just like
I
a
love that.
chicken tender wrapped in a
That's
corn
like the
tortilla.
epitome of girl dinner. I love
No,
that so
sometimes
much.
I'm like, I all I really want to taste in this moment is chicken and honey mustard. But I need a
1000%.
vehicle to do that. I need to add like again some more fiber. So I'm not just gonna eat just the chicken, like, my chicken tenders and honey mustard, but that's what I really want? So I'm like, I'm just gonna put it in a corn tortilla as a vehicle to shovel this into my mouth?
Okay, you
But
know
yeah.
what's so funny? This is reminding me. I used to make this all the time. If you're a pizza girl, you might be able to relate to this. Maybe I'm giving you a really good idea here. I will get a tortilla, like a flour tortilla. You would have to use corn. I don't think that it
Yeah.
would be that good with a corn
No.
tortilla, but a flour tortilla. And I would literally put pizza sauce and mozzarella cheese on the flour tortilla. And when I was like really in my gym era, I would get like the carb smart tortillas. That's not necessary, but and I would literally make a little tortilla pizza and it
Mhm.
you really just want the sauce. Like the
Yeah, like,
pizza
you want
sauce is the
sauce and
best, but
cheese
it's a
is yeah.
vehicle to get the sausage and cheese into your mouth.
It's like what I really want right now is, like, a very cheesy breaded, because I can do dairy-free cheese, but, like, a cheesy breaded something or other. So then it's like, what do I feel is an acceptable vehicle to shovel that into my mouth. Like, before I was gluten-free, but I could totally do this with just, like, gluten-free bagels, but I would do pizza bagels.
Mm,
And, I mean, not that I guess I keep bread usually in my house, but I usually freeze it because I just feel like in Florida with the humidity
you
and
can't, yeah.
it just goes bad in, like, 2 days. But I keep, like, a loaf in my freezer. I should get some gluten-free bagels and some vegan cheese because or I should just try to figure out how to make my own vegan cheese at home because, gosh, being dairy-free really is throws a wrench in all the things, but a pizza bagel,
Yeah,
oh
that
my gosh.
sounds
Or,
so good.
ooh, Annie's. What is it? Annie's? No. It might be Annie's. One of the brands, not Annie's. It's definitely not Annie's. Anyways, there's another brand at the grocery store that makes a gluten-free, I think it is Annie's, gluten-free vegan pasta. If you are also gluten-free and dairy-free, do not get the they have some sort of like butternut squash situation pasta. Don't do that one. Just do the full I tried it. It was rank. They have just like a normal vegan cheese gluten-free pasta. Oh my Lanta, that so good. That was one of my lazy meals for a while. I would do that and then I would add like peas sometimes to it or like some sort of meat or something. Sometimes you just are like, I just want some like sauce and cheese and I just need an acceptable vehicle to
Yeah,
eat that.
I saw this girl's TikTok the other day. She was like, "My boyfriend went out of town for the weekend, and I'm so excited to not have to hear the word meat for 3 days and eat, like, pasta and peas for the
Yeah.
next, like"
And don't get us wrong, we're talking about like, nourishing your body, taking care of yourself, but sometimes you're just like,
No,
again,
it
and it's better than not eating anything at all. So you have to be realistic with yourself and be like, okay, yeah, sometimes I am not going to want to cook anything or I just want something very lazy to throw together.
And it goes back to the point of you don't have to be eating 100% healthy 24/7. Like when I wake up on a Saturday
Mhm.
morning and it's 10 a.m. and I want to make pancakes for breakfast, okay, I'm going to make the pancakes for breakfast. I'm probably going to make them healthier because the only pancake mix I have here is Kodiak cakes. And I'm
Mhm.
probably going to put a mashed banana in it and add Greek yogurt to the top. Like it's probably going to be more balanced, but it's that mindset of like, it doesn't have to be 0 or 100. There's a lot of area in the middle, and if eating good old mac and cheese and just bare chicken nuggets is your Friday night meal, okay, that's still better than going and getting pizza and wings from your local pizza shop. Like, making
Mhm.
your freaking tortilla with pizza sauce in is
With
still
my
gonna be
singular
better.
chicken tender.
And guys, I okay, half of this I feel like for me too, I hate takeout because I hate leaving my house. Like, I will literally do anything to not leave my house. Even with Uber Eats, I'm like, "Am I really gonna have someone, like, deliver me something and, like, walk all the way downstairs and go grab it?" Like, no,
Walk all the way
I'm gonna
downstairs.
find whatever is in
Oh,
my
so
pantry
funny.
and my freezer, and I'm going to eat that. So it's like, yeah, it's better than nothing. It's better than nothing.
Yeah. I feel like being with, like, having celiac, there are so many restaurants I just do not trust to prep my food, especially over the phone. I have to call and be like, "Severe, severe allergy." Like, I'm trying to really emphasize it because some of them just like, they just don't get it. They don't prioritize, but when I find a restaurant that I do really like, there's this one, if you're in the Tampa Bay area, I don't know if it's a chain beyond it, but it's called Cali, and it's like farm I would say, like, not like farm to table, but it's like very fresh meals and they have bowls. Oh my goodness. They have a hot and crunchy bowl that is like they have like crispy onions that are fried in rice flour or like baked in rice flour. So they're like they taste like an actual crispy onion, but I don't have to worry about the flour. They serve it with ahi tuna. Oh my gosh. I've eaten that. I just discovered this place. I think I have purchased about 3 bowls in the last like 3 or 4 weeks because it's just so good. But we have one more tip on our list that I think we haven't covered yet that we can end on this one, but the last tip is prep components and not complete meals. I do this a lot. Like I don't when I meal prep, I don't like portion things out ahead of time or be like, I have this rice and chicken and veggie in a little container. I don't do that. I typically will prep the ingredients that are going to go together in a meal and I will typically eat them in that meal. But then if I want to switch things up, I can. So, for example, this week I prepped my salmon quinoa salad and then I prepped spaghetti squash in a container and ground turkey in a container. And some other weeks I'll prep trying to think of a meal. Ooh, when I make harvest bowls, that's a really good example of this. I will prep sweet potato in one thing, I'll prep chicken breast in another, I'll prep the toasted kale in another bowl, and I put it all in my fridge, and then I assemble my bowl later on, and it's nice to have everything together. But then let's say one day I'm going to eat the harvest bowl and I'm like, "You know what? I just, like, don't feel like kale on this tonight." Then I just don't put kale in it. Or let's say that morning I go to make, some eggs and I think, "Ooh, kale would be really good in it." I can pull from the prepped kale that I have. Like, it makes my life easier to have things prepped. That's like I would rather do that. Like, on a Sunday, I take, like, 2 hours and I just prep all of my stuff for the week, and that makes my life a lot easier and then helps me just focus on assembling meals rather than, having to cook something every day.
And it can also be a situation where you're kind of rotating the ingredients in and out. For example, if you prep one or two ingredients on a Sunday, but then Monday night when you go to make dinner, you're cooking a vegetable, okay, make some additional servings of that vegetable and then have the leftovers in the fridge. And then that gets added to the meal that you prepped on or the ingredients that you prepped on Sunday. And sometimes this does end up making my lunches very, very random. Like, I'll have leftover rice from Monday's dinner, I'll
Mhm.
have a meat that I prepped on Sunday, I'll have some, like, random like, sometimes it won't make the most sense, but it'll be, like, what I'm craving right now, and then
Sometimes I
that's
like that though. I don't even know
yeah,
what you would call it, but sometimes I love just like a dumpster-esque bowl, where I'm like, yeah,
yes.
yeah. I'm like, okay, I got a little quinoa, I got a little rice, I got a little random of this veg, that veg. Now all of a sudden it's like I got just like a bunch of random stuff. And then I'm like, all right, cool. Let me make a little dressing, put it on top, or I find some sauce in my fridge, and all of a sudden
I'm
it's
the
like
exact
this
same way.
bowl of randomness. But sometimes it's really good. Sometimes it
Yeah.
kind of hits though.
Okay, the other thing that I feel like I'm exposing myself here, but Alex actually got me onto this, and this is very popular in the, like, bodybuilding community,
Oh gosh.
what they're no, it's, like, honestly not it's not that bad, but it's very popular in the bodybuilding community, like, posting about it online. He will probably, like, more days than not out of the week for lunch, he gets burger patties from Wendy's with no bun, 'cause they have, like, fresh, never frozen beef, and then it's literally just, like, a slice of cheese on the top of it, and they only charge you $1.50 for a, like, patty that's I think it's, like, a quarter of a pound is how much meat it
Okay.
is for $1.50. So he'll literally just go get, like, 2 or 3 of those, and sometimes he'll bring me home them, and that's what I'll eat for lunch, like, 2 burger patties with cheese with no bun from Wendy's, and then, like, leftover rice from the dinner the other night and, like, some random vegetable. It just ends up being actually the most random lunch, but
I
that's okay.
thought you were gonna say something like drinking raw eggs.
Oh, okay, before we started dating, he did do that,
Because I
and
do yeah, I was gonna say, I remembered that.
I made him stop. I said, "I can't watch you do this." I
Yeah,
said, "This is
I
disgusting."
was like, "Where is this headed?" I'm like, "He's gonna be, like, guzzling down, like, egg whites or something."
Absolutely not. No.
Okay, yeah.
Mm-mm.
I actually saw this video, and this is no hate to her. She can do whatever she would like. However, it will not be my journey. She made this like I think she called it a cake, like an egg white cake or something, or egg white pancake. And it was quite literally just egg whites that she mixed with something. She like fluffed them up almost into like a whipped cream consistency. And hey, someone listening, this might be your journey. It will not be mine, but it might be your journey. It was literally egg whites that she like whipped up into like a whipped cream consistency, and then she poured it into a pan, and what happens is it, like, puffs up like a cake, and then she, like, flipped it, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, like, it's, like, such a good pancake," and she cuts into it, and it literally is like I don't even know how to explain, like, the texture of it. It was, like it was giving, like, spongy, thick egg.
It's literally still just an egg white. It's
No, and
still
I'm
just
like,
not a pancake.
I love what's that girl who's like the video she's like, "The best thing about being creative," or something, and she does these, like, really crazy things. I'm just like, I love the creativity here. I do. I love people thinking creatively, dreaming big, whatever. Baby, that's not a pancake. That's
It's
not a
not a pancake.
pancake. You
No,
know?
it's not.
Yeah. But, that might be someone's situation. I thought you were gonna say he does, like, crazy things like that.
Oh, yeah,
But
no, just the Wendy's burger patties, but I feel like that's also a good hack if you're
yeah.
traveling, you're on the road. It's probably gonna be better for you and less processed than a protein bar or
Yeah.
just a candy bar.
That's how
So,
I feel about
yeah,
Chick-fil-A has grilled nuggets that are gluten-free and their french fries are gluten-free. So if I'm, like, out and about, I'm like, "Yeah, let me go get some grilled
absolutely.
nuggets and some french fries at Chick-fil-A because I can actually trust it and it's a grilled nugget, you know? But
Absolutely. No, I feel like this brings us to the end of today's episode. This is a fun one. I feel like we haven't talked about groceries or eating healthy or just food in general for a really long
yeah.
time. So let us know on Spotify if you like these types of episodes. If there's anything else you want to hear us cover along this realm of eating healthy or grocery shopping or eating healthy on a budget or any of that, definitely let us know on Spotify. But thanks for tuning into the podcast. And until next week.